Hey you beautiful big heads, it's your boy Zacho and welcome to some Ash Echoes. So instead of doing like a first look at gameplay sort of situation, I wanted to do a overview of like important things that you would need to know about the game, right? So we're going to cover characters, memory traces, the technical engraving, the summon system, which is spirit diving, the muse shop, game modes. Literally we're going all over the place, right? And I'm just going to try to break it down in the simplest terms because some of this stuff is annoying. I ain't gonna hold you. Some of the stuff they didn't do great at explaining, or they just used too many words for no reason. So we're just gonna try to simplify everything, go over everything. But yeah, without further ado, let's just hop on into characters. Alright, so starting out with characters, we're gonna first look at classes. So looking at the classes, we have Bulwark, Vanguard, Striker, Skirmisher, Ranger, Support, and Tactician. Bulwark is pretty much your defensive character. They will force enemies to attack them, and they also have the black mechanic, which gives them a shield that will absorb damage. Vanguards are a mixture of attackers and defensive characters because they can either attack enemies, or they will straight up switch to just drawing enemy fire and having the block mechanic. Next up are strikers, who excel at dealing damage, and they are great at breaking enemies' block. So a base attack from a striker will deplete the block gauge by 1, and then a skill from a striker will deplete the enemy block gauge by 3, and they will focus first on elite enemies. A skirmisher focuses on flying enemies and have high mobility, and they can also combo their skills within the first 10 seconds of casting their skill. So anytime you see a skirmisher, if they activate their skill, you'll get a 10-second timer to then use the skill again, ignoring its cooldown. Next up are rangers, who pretty much just specialize in long range attacks and AoE attacks. And then supports, who focus on healing and buffing allies. And then tacticians pretty much just focus on debuffing enemies, and they also have a nice little gimmick of when they start the fight, their ultimates are at 50% charge already, which is really nice. Just looking at the elements here, nothing too special going on for most of them, but ones that have little special gimmicks tied into them naturally. Some water characters can make water zones, fire characters can create fire zones in dry environments, wind characters do more damage to flying enemies, and they can also, well, some of them can get rid of mist clouds and things like that. And then corrosive gives you access to the corrosive accumulation little gauge, which pretty much only comes with corrosive teammates, which allows you to then do corrosive blasts in the stage. We'll get to that later, but yeah, it's a whole little thing of its own. Bobbing right on into a character, as you can see right here, there is no little upgrading system whatsoever, like in the normal sense. There's no leveling system is the best way to say that. So yeah, what you do have to increase your stats instead is the ascension system, as well as increasing your combat skills, the fitness training, and the Nexus. So looking at the Ascension first, Ascension is pretty much the same in every game. You get the materials to then upgrade the character. The higher Ascension, the more stats you get. And then you also get initial engraving skills on top of that. They also get upgraded as you increase your Ascension, but we'll talk about these specifically when we get to the engraving system. But yeah, at S4, you get Splash Art level 2. I am only 25, so I cry, but hey, it is what it is. Looking at the combat skills, your active skill, which some characters have 2 actives instead of active and auto, but looking at your active skill, is a skill that you can activate yourself. If you want to upgrade it, you just get the materials and you can simply upgrade it. Literally tap on it and you can go right to the stages, get what you need to upgrade said skill. The auto skill is, as the name implies, it's a skill that activates automatically. You don't have to do anything, the gauge will fill up and it will be casted by the character's own leisure. Your seed skill is your ultimate skill, which if you upgrade this, it will take you to the seed section, which is pretty much you getting dupes of a character. And then your basic attack skill down here, which is in the name of the Hellwig, is literally just basic attack. It's just, basic attack stings with a passive attached to it. And the fitness training is another way to increase your stats through the home system, and we will talk about the home system later. But yeah, it's pretty much just you will click this, go to training, and you'll pretty much put in, a segment of training, and then over time, as it gets done, it will increase the tick and increase the stat as well. Now moving over to, elemental reactions and elemental zones, which tie into characters because everybody has their own little element. As I said earlier, water characters, some of them can make water zones, and then, fire characters can make fire zones with their skills in dry environments or just with their skills in general. Looking at the zones and the elemental reactions, physical characters, again, have nothing going on. They are physical, they are not, they are people who are boring. Now, I'm only saying boring as in they have nothing, magical going on about them. They either use technological advancements to do their damage and things of the sort. But yeah, no. looking at what, the zones and elemental reactions do. A fire zone burns enemies equal to 1% of their current health and is capped based on your terminal stat. Inside the water zone, enemies take more damage from water damage. So water characters synergize really good together in that regard in terms of making the zone then taking their damage to another level. In the ice zone, it freezes enemies over time through the chilled stat, and then if an enemy is frozen, there is a chance to instantly kill them if you're using ice damage as well. Now looking at the more interesting kind of elemental reactions going on here, we have the Vaporize Zone, which is a combination of a water zone with fire damage being done inside of it, or a fire zone with water damage being done inside of it. While you are inside of the Vaporize Zone, your allies take 50% less damage, which is really nice. Next up is Explosion, which is a fire zone plus lightning damage. In this instance, when you deal explosion damage, it deals extra damage based on your attack and mastery stat. Next up is the Melt elemental reaction, which is a fire zone plus ice damage, or an ice zone plus fire damage, which reduces basic damage reduction by 5% up to 60%. And if an enemy is immune to ice or fire, then they would also be immune to the melt effect as well. Next up is Frozen, which is pretty much just water zone plus ice damage, or ice zone plus water damage, and it just freezes the enemy. They will stop moving. After that, we have Electrolyze, which is an ice zone plus lightning damage, which reduces the enemy's attack by 33% and can stack up to 3 times, which is really nice. But the downside is this is less effective against both boss and elite units, or well, enemies. Next up, we have Electroconduct, which is pretty much electricity damage on top of a water zone, which pretty much just paralyzes the enemy in place, keeping them from moving forward. And last but not least, Corrosion, which is its own little thing. So when you have a Corrosion character on your team, it will again activate the Corrosion accumulation. And then once the accumulation hits 100%, all enemies will take corrosion damage based on their current health percentage. And then for every point over 100, will then increase the damage by 0.2% up to 100% additional damage. So yeah, quite a nice little thing there. All right, so looking at memory traces, which are pretty much your stats. They have a regular way of leveling up, but they're your stats in a way to give your characters passives. So each one has its own individual stats that, equipping to a character will give them said stats. The higher you get it, the higher the stats will go, obviously. But on top of that, they have little passives already, intertwined with them that, all do various things, right? So this one expands water terrain created by 20%. And as you go through the Nexus, you can actually increase, the level of this skill. So currently on base is at level 1, and it can go up to level 3. And, you can upgrade it as you go through the Nexus, and the Nexus is the roguelike system in this game. So apart from that, they also have the Nexus stats. So little effects that you get while going through the Nexus. In this case, after a depth level reaches 8, skill points gained at sturdy zones plus 4, gain plus 10 points of random stat upon completing a memory enhancement on this trace. So, they got little additional effects that you get for this, memory trace. And then if you go to upgrade down here, this is how you ascend it and upgrade it. And then you can also increase that little special effect that you have through dupes. So yeah. Apart from that, each one not only has a base skill that you're guaranteed to get right away, they also have a list of skills that you could, get as you go through the Nexus. So not only do you gotta, worry about the first skill you get, you have to also worry about the Nexus skills that you can acquire as well, because they all have their own set of Nexus skills that you can then give to a character as well. So when you equip these to a character as you go through the Nexus, you get the base skill off rip. That's the first skill you get that you can use right away. But then these are additional skills that you get as you go through the Nexus that you can then give to your character at the end of the Nexus that they can have as permanent passives at all times. So that's why these are really important. And like they have so many skills, and as you can see, like some of them have the exact same skill on them, but still so many skills. And now see, the lower you go, rarely the less skills they will have. A lot right there already. And then there's one more tab, which is the Trace Awakening, which is the leveling up of the skill itself as you go through the next. So that's all this is. But yeah, memory traces are very important because it gives your characters stats and passives. So many passives, man. And they all have their own little way of doing things. So while these are skills that can appear on other memory traces, these skills, however, are pretty much for the memory trace itself. It will not appear on any other card. So these are the special skills, while these are the more general pool skills that each card has. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything we really need to focus on when it comes to memory traces right now. All right, now moving over to the tactical engraving system, we're going to start with the director and then move over to one character because it's the same for every character. You just, But yeah, So start out with the director, right? The director has their own little exclusive director skills, you know, that are pretty broad, right? Like they're very broad. In the early game sense, it's really good to use them because broad skills are always nice. But there are some downsides. So first, you can only pick one of every, you know, card type for the director. For like regular characters who aren't the director, you can have all mastery, all terminal, all defense, terminal, mastery. You know, you can have any combination of cards you want. You know, up to 5. You only have up to 5. Because there's 6 slots, you can have up to 5 of any combination, but then the last slot's for a card of your friend. Okay, so the bright side here is you get to keep the stat bonus of whatever card you pick while also being able to pick whatever skill you want. So that's a bright side of using the director, right? Because if we pay attention real quick, vitality stat, right? Vitality card. That's a vitality skill. That's in the vitality skill we're using. So we can switch it to the actual one, but we can switch it to an R. So that stays the same. So that's the benefit of it. You get more freedom in the, you know, skills you're using. And obviously as you increase your level for these, the, you know, go into one real quick, it takes a little second. As we increase the level of this, it will then increase our overall trace level for the director, because we're currently stuck at 200 because these are all at 40. We need to hit level 26, it increases all to 50. And then we'll be able to get to the next level, which is 250 to 300, around that range. And then it will boost the stats that we can get overall, which then at all times, a portion of these stats do go to the team. Because if we go out real quick, go to literally any stage, it does not matter, you know. We'll enter, deep, tap this. Director's right there, you get a portion of the director skills. So at all times, you'll get, you know, 20%, and I'm pretty sure it goes higher the higher, you know, his level goes. But going back in, if we look at the actual character now, so we'll pop into Ivana, right? And you can see here we have 2 attack, 2 defense, and 2 vitality. That's the setup we used for our Nexus run for her in the instance. And we have some of the skills left over. If you know, can notice which ones are the actual skills of, you know, the cards. If you play a game, you might be able to. If you don't, it's okay. Tap on this, see the skill, carries over right here. We selected that skill, we leveled it up to level 3, so it can be at level 3 all time, so when we go through a stage. But on top of that, if we look at this skill, you know, little Thunder Guy skill, it's nowhere to be found because we didn't see the need to keep it, alright? So as you go through the Nexus, you pick your baseline up, you know, to get the stats and everything, and then, you know, your passive start out skills to use right away. But then once you get to the very end of the Nexus, you then get to choose whatever passive skills you want to keep and place on the character forever, which then allows you to have multiple different kinds of builds for characters because, you know, for this one, it's more focused on water and ice together, pretty much. I really wasn't thinking too much about having thunder characters with this character in this instance for a more electrolyzed setup to then, what is it, to be decreasing the enemy's attack by 33% over and over and over again. I wanted to focus more on the water aspects with ice to proc more frozen to then try to get more instant kill. that was my idea. But yeah, so when it comes to the team leader, not only do you have to think about, you know, the kind of team setup you want to make, but also the other characters you're going to be using with them. Because like in this instance, she can't summon anything, right? But when I run her, I do use somebody who I call Charles Xavier, but with hair. He does summon things who can then take effect of this, because whoever your leader is, these skills go to everybody on the team, right? So the leader puts their team, gives the team all the, you know, skills that they have. And then the stats are, well, the stats, everybody gets their own little stats, yeah. It is what it is in that regard. Everybody gets their own little stats. So, you know, how it should work is, because they do not do a good job explaining this, whoever the leader is for the Nexus, right, their skills go to everybody. And then a portion of their stats go to everybody. But then at the same time, the character stats that they got from the Nexus themselves should also stick to that character. So you get a benefit from, you know, obviously taking every character through the Nexus, and then you get additional benefit for whoever is the best character who got the furthest, you know, who got the highest stats and everything. Then a portion of their stats go to everybody, and then a portion of the director's stats go to everybody as well. And I said that very fast. Now that I'm thinking about it. But my brain just started processing, you know, it just started chugging. But as you can also see here, some characters have 2 sets, you know, because you can record up to 200 Nexus runs. Oh, well, you know, Nexus runs. Like, this one is a little slightly different than the other one, you know. So you have up to 200 kinds of builds you can make, which is actually very nice. So if you want your character's build to be switched, you would just have to, run them through the Nexus again, switch it up a little bit, tweak it a little bit, and then, save that as your next little setup. So I could literally make another build that's more focused on electrolyze and then lower it, the enemy's attack, focusing on having thunder characters on the team. So I could actually put this as a stat, switch out some of the other ones like this one, coordinated, because if I'm going to have more lightning characters, I probably wouldn't, have anybody summoning anything. So, it's a lot to play around with this mechanic. It's a lot. That's why I say it's confusing, because it's a lot going on here. Very much so. And this is only half of the entire little cake we got going on here, because this is just talking about the engravements. This ain't even talking about the Nexus itself, So, yeah. All right, now let's talk about the gacha system, shall we? So, this is the current rate-up banner. It says it's a standard rate-up banner, and this is the general pool. But these are linked, obviously, because I'm going to be honest with you, I've only been summoning on this. But how it works is pretty standard. So she's the rate up. You have a 50% chance of getting her. If you do not get her, if you lose 50-50, then she's guaranteed on the next one. I believe it says what? If you do not obtain a 6-star Echomancer for 60 consecutive times, the probability of obtaining a 6-star will increase by 6% for each resonance thereafter. After obtaining a 6-star, it will be, reset back to the normal 1.2%. So, yeah, that's how it works. Nothing too crazy. So it has a standard 50-50. You lose 50-50, you get them guaranteed. And yes, hopefully you get them in 60. If you don't, then it starts boosting it by quite a bit. But moving down to the memory trace, because this is the fun stuff, right? So you pretty much have your targeted one for each stat. Whatever stat you have targeted, those cards will have a rate up. So, all of them will be rated up. All Vitality cards will be rated up since it's the Vitality one. All the other cards will obviously be in there, but Vitality cards of SR or higher will have a rate up. And it'll be the same for whichever one you set to. So now it's all defense. Set to this one is now all attack. So that's how it works. And if you notice, the SSRs are only going to be, the Vitality cards. And whatever one you set as your wish, you will have a 50% chance of getting. If you miss the 50-50, then the next one will be that specific card. And this one is just a general one, general. It's just general as hell. And, it still works the same. This will be your 50-50. If you miss 50-50, this will be your guaranteed one. All right. And then for this one, it's friendship exchange. So you just interact with your friends, sending them, hearts, kisses, whatever you want to say. And you get stuff for this. And on top of that, you get one of these daily. You get a free trace pool on this daily. And then the fun thing about summoning in this game, right, is it has a flashbang, right? So look, if we do one pull, go in here real quick. I can flash you. Oh my god, they're seizure warning, baby, because I can look, I can hold it as long as I want and I can pull it back. And then as you pull, you get, the little cards and stuff for the Mew Stewer, because I would say these are connected. So 300 for, so 3,000 for a multi. You can trade them in here. These, I am actually not sure what these are from. Yeah, no, I have none. I've never got any. So I don't know. Where are you from? I mean, is this premium currency actually? No, it unlocks at 26. So that's why I have not seen it. Ha ha ha. Why am I not 26? Or where am I never know? I'm busy. When you pull stuff, you get these, which you can then trade in for essential materials, XP for your memory traces, and pools, but I already got them all. The Kitty Cat Redeem is for the higher rarity characters. So, yeah, that's how that works. Higher rarity character gives these. Again, these are for more permanent pulls. I can get dudes for this little guy? Oh, that's about to go crazy. But I'm just going to take these real quick. Don't worry about me. Friendship medals, which you can then, from giving your friends gifts and whatnot. So, it'll be up here. Quick send claim. Go back into the Mew shop. We can turn these into more pulls. Bada boom, bada bing. You can also get other things. We have the furniture store, which, you can buy furniture for the lounge. And then we have the free play box, which is, honestly, it's music. But yeah, so that's everything that's in the Mew shop attached to, the summoning portion. So boom, those two together. All right, so now we are finally to the Nexus, right? The Nexus is really important because it's what gives your characters passive, stats, and everything else. So you can do Nexus in two ways. You can either do a standard run, which is, going into the Nexus itself, entering Echoing Nexus. You pick your character, you go in, you pick the cards you want for them. I'll just do balance real quick. So, it'll pick some really good cards for them. It'll honestly be better just to, take the time, look through and do it yourself. But for the sake of time, we're just showing this off. and then you can press next. But we're not going to go into a run right now because we have other things to talk about. So we're going to go back. So that's one of the ways you can do it, right? So we're going to head back. Another way you can do it is you can go to simulation, pick a character who hasn't been touched at all, do the same thing real quick, recommend it, and it'll give you an estimated rating, and you can just quickly generate a run, and it will throw you out, you know, a character who has been pretty much quickly thrown through the Nexus with, you know, not the greatest kind of setup, but you know, it will give you a slight increase, right? So it is what it is in that front. You're better off, and you should just go through the Nexus. 100%, you should just go through the Nexus, right? So other than that, you have the reputation details, which it does record your highest, you know, runs. It tells you when they were done and everything else. And then it compounds that into this, which then allows you to get rewards. The higher that you go with each character, the more rewards you can get just from this. And then on top of that, it gives you a stat bonus outside of the Echoing Nexus for however high you get with this. So that's also good as well. But then you can actually do Nexus challenges as well. So if we go through here, you know, each one gives a bonus. As we slide through, I only did run here. As you can clearly tell, I've been focusing on the lab first just because. But do keep in mind, each Nexus has its own little mechanics and gimmicks going on. So just because you get far in one doesn't, well, just because you can't get far in one does not mean you cannot get far in another one. Because again, they are all different mechanics based upon the different mechanics that you face through the story mode. So yeah. But on top of that, we will use the Blood Ruvia because we have not gone through this one that much. And technically, for this one, we got these 3 unlocked because the one character we did go through with it got a high enough score. But for the Nexus Memory Challenge, when you go through and do a run, you have to get a character, any character that clears it with a, in this case, B12, B17, A21 will unlock, you know, these challenge stages. And that's all they are. They're just challenges that you can do to try and, you know, get rewards for. So if we go out real quick, go to this one, go to the challenge stages. If we beat it, we get, you know, 100 currency, 200 currency, and we'll get a SR. So yeah. And wait, is that a selectable? Yeah, you get to choose one. So that's pretty good. And then, you know, pretty sure the rewards for these will be pretty good as well. But for this one, you have to get to A25, and this is S30. So yeah, you have to go pretty deep into the Nexus to get these unlocked. And then obviously, if we just go to Nexus, it will just be a Nexus run. Now, there's honestly no way to show off a quick Nexus run. There is just no way at all. But I can show you bits and pieces of one. That's the best I can do for you right now, because Nexus runs are long. It's just a fact. So who do I want to level up properly? Probably gonna be you, because you really need it. Now, for the sake of time, we're just gonna do a balanced real quick, and then we're just gonna hop on in. But also, if you wanted to, you can literally set this to whatever you want for a more targeted kind of selection of your stats. So say I want 2 of these, 2 of these, 2 of these. That's pretty balanced. You hit recommend it. It'll give you, you know, a setup that has the stats that you asked for. You know, you can click previous or go back, and just to, you know, show you, you know, it'll just quickly set you up whatever it thinks would be best for that character using the parameters you set for the custom. But we'll do this one. We'll do balance, because why not? And then we'll start a Nexus run. As you can see, we're getting a portion of stats, and then we get the additional 20% as well from Director. But in this, it's just you and the Director. The higher a character's Ascension level is, the more stats they'll get as well. But, you know, it takes into account Ascension level, and then also it takes into account the memory traces you put on the character as well as the Director. That's why the Director's here. So that's how that works out. Just gonna press interact to start the zone, and then we'll start fighting. So literally, by yourself, you will go in and start fighting enemies. Like, this is what this is. It's a roguelike system. You know, every run will be completely different from the last. And now, while you can speed things up by setting it to auto, you can literally pick the depth. The lower you go, the stronger enemies get, but also the better things you'll get as well. We'll just go straight to 3. But you can set it to auto to make things easier, and then, you know, take care of most things for you. And you can keep track of your engraving rating down here as well. So we're just gonna go full auto. You can pick whatever paths you want, you know, ahead of time. And then you can also choose what you want to prioritize. So I don't know what it actually set, because, you know, we're just doing this real quickly. For auto, you can also choose how low you want to go, as well as choose the paths you would like to take, whether going left or right, and also choosing the rewards you would like to take. And then we'll just set it to auto, and it will go through by itself. So as you go through, you'll get upgrades for the cards that you place with their, you know, standard passives. As you go through, they'll get higher and higher, they'll go up in level. And then you'll also be acquiring, you know, side effects that they have locked inside them as well. But you have a combination of stages to where you either fight them in the Nexus itself, or you have actual stages to where you can go in with your team and fight them this way. So those are your two instances. And obviously the lower you get, the more damage enemies will do. And it gets a lot harder because, well, if you're not in a stage to where you're actually, doing the base game combat, which is, tower defense-esque, then you're fighting enemies with your character by yourself, which will eventually get really difficult when you're either fighting multiple enemies alone or you're fighting one elite enemy who attacks way faster than you. Yeah, but once you're to the end of your Nexus run, you just go for it, you interact with the exit, and we got the depth of 10 actually. So we'll end the current Nexus, we'll head out. We actually couldn't beat the final boss because my man died. But yeah, so we made it to the end. We get the stats and everything. So now we just configure the skills, and then we will go through here and use our skill points that we've acquired. Each one costs a certain amount out of the maximum amount we got. And then we will pick the skills that we want to keep on the character, for this, build of him in a sense. But just to, again, save time, we're going to just hit recommend it. It'll quickly, just recommend some skills real quick. So don't really know what we got, but we're going to confirm it. We'll head back, and now we can actually see all the skills we got from this run. Do you believe in the light? What is this? Ooh, that's not bad. Oh, that's actually really good. I need to know which one gave this, because that's actually really good. But okay, and then you just confirm, and then it will be saved. And then because of how far we got, it would take his amount, put into the overall. We're just going to accept those real quick. Then if we go to the reputation details, he's saved. So yeah, that's how the Nexus will work. And then obviously our overall rating went up as well. And now we're literally a smidgen away from getting 5 pulls. So that's pretty much how the entire Nexus situation will work out. Next, going over the home system. So if you go to menu and go to the seed dome, and this is your home system. And here you can quickly, schedule people to do specific tasks. Everybody has something they're good at, which will, then allow things in here to move more smoothly, get more items a lot faster. I usually just press auto assign and just save it because the game knows what it's doing in this regard. But then over here, we have the basic R&D, which is how you get the training materials to upgrade your characters. So as of right now, we can only get up to these, but obviously as we get higher and higher in the skill tree of the dome, then we can get the higher training materials so we can, train our characters even more. Head back out, we can quickly claim everything from over there. So in the, processing center, this is pretty much your foundry or workshop, whatever you want to call it, where you can turn lower grade items into higher grade items. So, just to make the process of ascending characters easier. And over here we have chips for, skill leveling up. And then you also have a percentage of getting an additional one. Then in the central command over here, this is pretty much the skill tree for it. So doing this will obviously allow you to unlock more and more stuff in the dome itself and things outside of the dome as well. So yeah, and then over here is for the terminal, which just gives it more features and everything else. And then right here is the training center, where you can come in and just train your characters. So if we come here real quick, you can see that was going up to level 4. This one's going up to level 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, literally just going in order. You tap on it, and you can do up to 10 at a time. It uses the materials that we just picked up. And over time, it will give them all these additional stats. And that's pretty much the home system. It's very quick and very simple. The second half of the home system is actually the lounge, so we'll head back out real quick. So if we come over here again and we set it to tea time this time, this is pretty much the other half of the home system, because the first half, the dome, is pretty much, training, stuff for the terminal and stuff like that, foundry, things like that to ascend characters. But this is where you get to chill out with your characters. You can play baseball, darts, billiards. You can interact with them through tea time to increase your bond with them. And you can also decorate it. You can visit other people's, you can decorate your own. But yeah, and this is where your friends will come to hang out at. Over here at the field ops is, more essential game modes that you have. So we actually did talk about the Nexus memory, which is just, unlocking challenge stages through going through the Nexus. This is pretty much your, I wouldn't say abyss, but like tower climbing. So this is for any road. This is for the offensive, defensive roads. This is for ranged, and this is for, special, as in support and tactician. So yeah, when it's saying like specific classes, the only thing it really means is the leader you choose. So currently we actually shouldn't do this one because we wouldn't be as obvious. So we're going to skirmisher and range. Going to start it real quick. So right here, you can pick anybody, you know, you can pick anybody outside of, you know, range, skirmisher, support, attacker, all that. But your leader has to be one of a ranger or a skirmisher. It cannot be anybody else. So the only thing that's really locking you out of is using a specific leader. So that's why you would have to, you know, go in and use multiple people in the Nexus to get actual leaders to use in these other modes. Then joint training is similar, honestly. You get to pretty much, each one has its own, you know, typing that it wants you, or well, classification it wants you to focus on. Who will be the leader, you know. But then as you go to the next one, same thing. So you need 3 sets because you can only use each leader once. So that's 3, 6. Stop. 3, 6. Why are you doing this to me? I'm trying to do this. Jesus. Why are you betraying me? You got 3, 6, 9, 12. So you need 3 sets of characters who are all leaders for each set. So you would need 4, you know, attacking leaders, 4 skirmishing / range leaders, and 4 support / tactician leaders. And then you'll go up to the final battle. And then what would determine how, you know, high you can go up with this would be a mixture of how far you got in all these modes. So it tells you you can get up to 60 for each one. And then we'll take all that into account for you to do the final one and how high you can go up here. So obviously I can only go to 60 because I've only gotten 60 on this one, which is the highest one over here. And technically we can go to 75 if we just turn this to high risk, you know, which would give you an additional 5%. So yeah, you would do all these to then do this to get the good rewards. So pretty much these just determine how high up you can do with this. And then if we go to supplies, this is just where you go to get the materials to upgrade characters, you know, your ascension materials. Free trade is where you go to get moolah, baby. This one is where you get your XP for your memory trades. I said trades, traces, words. The light protocol is where you get stuff for skills. And the nebula domain is where you get stuff to ascend your trace memories as well. So yeah, that's everything. Yeah, that's pretty much everything you would really need to know, right? And I guess, you know, chat, the chat, you know, I got 7 messages where I can interact with, you know, people in the game. Yeah, but that is everything that you really need to worry about in the game right now, as far as I can see from level 21. There are some things I still don't have unlocked because of level 26, like Ascension and the 1 game mode, which is right here. But we ain't gotta worry about that. We ain't gotta worry about that right yet. You know? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope you learned something, and I hope this further makes you more interested in the game, right? So I'll see you in the next one. Love you guys, and bye-bye.